What's good, y'all? Coming at you with a new video. Actually, from a new setup today. So let me know how the audio sounds. Does it sound better than the old videos? Please let me know in the comments. That'd be some great feedback. But today, I kind of want to talk about a topic. You all saw the title of the video: how to use video games to get jacked. So. This is something I've been thinking about on my walks, man, because if you saw my my first video, I talked about how just difficult those first few months, man. Those first few months of working out are, man, and it can be rough, dude. But I think what really helped me was, and sticking to it, honestly, was being able to relax and just lock in and play some video games at the end of the night, right? And so, I'll share with you all. I'm a huge nerd, right? I've always been a huge nerd. Growing up, I had a ton of video games. I would always be playing Nintendo games. Loved Pokemon. Playing on PS3, playing all the online games, Call of Duty, Destiny, right? And yeah, most recently, I haven't been gaming as much. Obviously, I've just been so busy now, but I think when video games have always been sort of a way to just relax, and feel like I'm doing something, and definitely an escape, right? There's definitely some escapism tied to that, where, you can get out of your head and just focus in on something. And, even though video games aren't necessarily the most productive thing, they do create that flow state that you kind of look for, right? That us as humans kind of look for, where we're like mind, body, are one, right? And you can kind of just flow, right? So they do create that, and I think obviously there are even games that kind of make you use your mind more, and there's obviously like Major League Gaming as well, where you're competing even. So that's the thing, that there are like positive things to video gaming, but I think for the most part most people use them as entertainment. And you can fall into a slippery slope of just wanting to do that all day, which I definitely spent a lot of my 20s just gaming all day, right? I had a bunch of those days. So, that's where you fall into the trap. But what I want to focus in on is how I use them in my fitness journey to really lock in, right? And so, really, when I started on this fitness journey, and I was just starting out just to go to the gym, starting on my diet. It's super tough, right? And that first month is really difficult. I mean, I think honestly, those first 2 weeks you have a lot of motivation, but that goes away. And as you go into those, the week 3, week 4, and as you get into your second month, that is when it starts to become real and very tough, right? Because you still haven't built up the habit. You're still getting used to kind of doing this new thing, but you don't have that motivation anymore. And so that's where a lot of people lose, and just stop going. So, my sort of mindset when I entered this phase was, I hate this so much, or I don't want to say hate this so much, but because I knew where I was going, but that uncomfortability of, having to work out and entering a new gym, and seeing all these people who are jacked and you're not, that was just super uncomfortable for me, right? But what I always rewarded myself with is with some video games at the end of the night, right? And so for those first 2 months, I really stopped my like creative endeavors, and I really just focused on, hey, I'm gonna hit the gym, I'm gonna hit my meals, and I'm gonna have my video games at night, right? And that's gonna be my treat, right? And so I would spend maybe 2.5 to 3 hours a night, save my night, for doing some gaming, right? And just actually being intentional with my entertainment and having some fun at the end of the night, right? And so that sort of helped me to stay in the rhythm. Hey, I'm gonna hit the gym, I'm doing this, but I'm gonna have my gaming session where I'm gonna just chill out and be able to just think clearly, and or not think, right? Lack thereof thinking, So yeah, I'll mention I was playing this video game called Mugenics. If you've played that, it's awesome. I was playing it on Steam Deck, and it's a great time, man. And you know, you could play that game forever. It's about cats. It's a cat breeding game. I know it sounds weird, but I'm into weird games like that, and that's a really fun one. Check it out if you can. It's only $30. It's only on PC. And again, you could play it forever, right? So I was just diving into that. And you know, I think it's also important to think through like what video game you're playing for this period, right? Because you're going through hardship, right? You're almost a video game character yourself in this phase, right? You're like a level one. You don't have any, you know, stats. You don't have anything, any gear, right? You're gear in the sense of like armor, not PEDs, you know. Um, but you don't have anything, right? So you're starting at level one, just like in a video game. And so I think it's also important to choose a video game that kind of puts you through hardship, right? In my case, like I was talking about this game, Eugenics, where it's these cats that you're like sending out on adventures, and you know they're going through horrible things, right? They're, you know, going into the desert and like getting beat up. Sometimes your cats die; they don't make it back home. You know, and it's a rough life, right? So I would kind of embody that in myself. I'd be like, yo, I'm like the cats in Eugenics right now. I'm going out there, I'm getting my items, I'm leveling up, and I'm coming back home to rest, you know, and you know, build up this house, build myself up, you know. So I think it's also good to pick a video game like that, maybe like an RPG or something that feels a little tough too, so you can kind of live that out, right, and kind of replicate that in your day to day when you're hitting the gym and going through this tough period of starting, right? So if you're a nerd like me, I think this is a kind of a good tip, you know. I think the other thing I wanted to mention, which is like fleeting my mind right now, but you know, yeah. So you know, as humans, we're very ritualistic, believe it or not, right? We have our like different rituals, right? I remember reading about just how one of the things that distinguished humans from, you know, monkeys or you know, the different phases of evolution that we went through, you know, is eventually at one point we started burying our dead, right? And that differentiated us from the other animals, right? Because we understand death, right? And we have these rituals and we have this empathy. So, you know, we are very ritualistic, right? And we tend to find meaning in very simple things. And you know, spirit is like a real thing, right? It's something we feel. And so that's another thing too that I kind of use with video games, right? This is part of my ritual. You know, I do this at the end of the night, and this is sort of where I kind of meditate a little bit, but I kind of go through this with these characters, these virtual and not real characters, obviously, but you know, we're sort of in it together in a weird way, you know, and that sort of helped me get through those tough times, you know. Music is also another one that I'll mention, right? I would have my pre-workout music routine, you know, I would play this on the way to the gym, I'd play this one song, and actually a song from Eugenics, because the soundtrack in Eugenics is just fire, man. This game rules. You should play it. But you know, I would play the song to amp me up, right, and get me going. All right, it's gym time. It's gonna be tough, you know. Maybe I don't want to be here today, but this is what we do, right? And so that allowed me to lock in those 3 months, man. Just sticking to, hey, you know what? I'm gonna focus on the gym, focus on my meals, and I'll have my games at the end of the day. And that'll be it. That's what I'm doing these next 2 months, right? And keep it simple like that. And you can stay locked in, right? You know, now that I'm, you know, a little bit further into my journey, and you know, eventually what happens to you is your dopamine starts to come from different places, and you realize when you get dopamine from doing hard things, and you know, your reward system has changed, you start to want to do more hard things, right? And so that switch will come naturally. You know, and now I'm playing probably the least video games I've ever played since I was a teenager, man. Maybe not even a teenager, since a kid, right? Because I started on a Game Boy Color as a kid, man. I've been playing forever, right? But yeah, now I'm playing a little video games, maybe an hour a night, if even that. Some nights I don't even play because I'm usually reading or working on some music or doing something else, doing something productive. And that's the switch that happens, but that comes later, man. So don't focus on going all in, and just being, hey, I'm gonna, start reading, and I'm gonna start, working on this project and making videos and doing all these different things, and also hitting the gym and hitting my meals. You're gonna overwhelm yourself, right? So really, in these important stages, in these beginning stages, it's important to take it easy, right? Focus on just the gym, just reaching those goals, and have some fun at the end of the night. And I think that's how I used video games, to just help me out, right? In a sort of ritualistic way of like, hey, I'm just gonna play this game, enjoy myself after the gym, not worry too much of like if I have my shit together. And 2 months went by and boom, I started to feel better. I started to see results, and then everything became way easier, y'all. So, just some advice from a fellow nerd here. Play your video games. If you, especially if you're like a RPG gamer like me, you play JRPGs or, indie games that can be a little brutal sometimes, like very hard video games. Use that, man. Use that, and take on that what's the right word? Almost like be that character, but in real life, right? And that'll help you out a little bit. So hopefully this video helps out some folks out there. I guess this could be interchangeable, right? It doesn't have to be video games. Maybe it's a show where someone's going through hardship, or maybe some movies where people go through hardships. I don't know, but use entertainment in those first few months. Don't overwhelm yourself. Have something fun. Treat yourself to some entertainment, not food, right? Don't be eating some crazy shit out there. But have your fun and have your relaxed time, and have your chill time built in. I guess that's the main takeaway. Have some chill time, especially in those first few months, so that you can stay consistent. You can build the routine, and then boom, once you start seeing results, you're just off and at it. So that's the video, y'all. Thanks for listening. And also, like I mentioned, let me know about the audio. If it sounds good, and yeah, y'all get a little view of my apartment. But see y'all in the next one. Cheers. See you all.